Let's start all over again. Let's start all over again. Let's start all over again. I know that we have a audio issue. So let's start all over again. Oh, yes, indeed, of course. It was so nice that we have to do it twice. Let me say, of course, a pleasant good night to all and sundry, East, West, North, South, Central, in Trinidad, our friends in Tobago, and wherever you are, streaming on the World Wide Web, pleasant good day to you. Sorry, of course, for the tardiness, but of course, it was due to circumstances beyond my control. That being as it may, we have, of course, a bumper program for you tonight. All you need to do is to sit back, watch, enjoy, and at least participate. Remember, of course, our target is 40,000 every night in Trinidad, in the region, and in the hemisphere, as well as in the world. And therefore, of course, with that accumulation, we should, of course, reach our target with ease. That being as it may as well, I want to tell you, of course, we not only are very sensitive to the protection and the development of women in Trinidad and Tobago, and indeed, of course, they have been seen as the other half of humanity. Let me repeat that. That women are seen as the other half of humanity, and therefore, of course, they cannot be dismissed nor discriminated against. In fact, I want to tell you that it is now being celebrated in Trinidad and Tobago, that, of course, in the three highest posts in the country, the presidency, yes indeed, the presidency, the leader of the opposition, and of course, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, the highest executive office in the land, of course, is occupied by a woman. Of course, none other than, I'm going to say Her Grace, but then is not my Archbishop. So I'll say, of course, the Honorable and the most, of course, distinguished. I'm talking about Kamala Prasad Misesa. So, of course, the leader of the opposition is Penelope Beckles, and, of course, the presidency is occupied by, of course, Mrs. Kangaloo, the president, Her Excellency, the president of the country. So, of course, having said that, and having, of course, recognized that there is a need and the indispensability of women in the society, we have a duty and responsibility, of course, to celebrate. But, of course, we have some other things that we have to talk about. Last night we said that we are going to continue, of course, with our examination as to where love came from. Love came from. Not the love that you would generally associate with human beings. You see, the Greek have defined love in three distinct categories. They said that there is, of course, filial love, which, of course, is the ordinary, friendly love. You have, of course, the eros love, which is the sexual love. And then you have, of course, the most important of them all, agape love, which, of course, is loving somebody else equal to, if not more than yourself. And that is the ultimate that we must strive for. So, of course, but in this case, we are talking about love, the acronym for what? Lateral Outreach for Vertical Enrichment. Yes, indeed. But I thought I should give a little lesson in philosophical loving arrangements and so on, coming out from the Greek and of course Roman mythology. But that being as it may, let's say a little before, of course, we continue. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Of course, a pleasant good night once again to all and sundry, East, West, North, South, Central. Welcome, of course, to the corridor transformation. Of course, you will forgive me for the tardiness, but you know, human beings are what I consider to be very fragile beings, very fragile biological beings. And just like a plant, and just of course like any of what they call the lower animals, species or breed, of course we too suffer from what I consider to be exhaustion. Apart from being sick, of course, but exhaustion. And then of course, as somebody would tell me, my father used to say, man though dead is work does dead. But yet still, he tried to kill work. And he almost, of course, achieved in my leaving this earth very early. But it's a good thing. It's a good thing. I had a good mother, and she would say, for example, I remember very distinctly on a Christmas morning. But I will indulge you after, of course, we get this call. Pastor, good night. Welcome to the corridor. Pastor, good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good day, good night, Mr. Lennox.
Good night to you, my friend.
Yes, I saw today the Ministry of Social Welfare, right, issued a couple bulletins with regards to people who are differently able to make all buildings accessible to them, right? And furthermore, they were investigating all of the people who were having difficulties getting their pensions, right? People who have been there for months and languishing.
That's music to my ears, man. Go ahead, yes.
Yes, I could send you the flyers of it tonight.
Yes, send it for me, please, because I would want to, of course, not just promote it, but elaborate, because I would want to get some more information, in other words.
Right, but let me tell you this.
Go ahead.
Those things have been going on for years with regards to the differently able people not getting access to buildings. Yes. Plus, these people with a pension, and in less than a month, the minister who in charge, Ms. Mohit, she has taken upon herself to address these issues right away. And she's asking the public to also make their buildings and their areas accessible to all differently able. So if the the president thinks she give a differently able person apply, the minister has given the entire differently able people apply, right? So I just wanted to leave that there. I go send it for you now.
Yes, thank you very much, of course, for that piece of information, because at the Employment and Resource Center, these are some of the issues, apart from, of course, trying to match, of course, employees with employers. So we are, of course, gathering the data as far as availability of businessmen in the private sector, obviously, and those in the public sector as well. And of course, the public sector can be divided into two. You have ministries, and you have, of course, state enterprises. So some of them, even if there's a policy that the public sector is saturated, talking about the ministries, are saturated to the point where they cannot, of course, accommodate anymore. But certainly I think there will be spaces, I am assuming, of course, among the very large number of state enterprises, whether it be UDICAT, whether it be, of course, NABDEFCO, whether it be East Waterspoon Development Company, whether it be, of course, CPEP, URP, you name it. These I consider why they may not be strictly, URP, CPEP may not be strictly state enterprises, but they have a sort of hybrid or a quasi function in both areas, and therefore one can conclude that, of course, employment opportunities can also be taken advantage of there as well. But I want to say, I am very optimistic. I am very, of course, heartened that the Minister of Labour met with us, my deputy political leader and myself. We met with him, of course, at the Rising Road Towers, and I can tell you it was a very cordial meeting, one, and two, he opened up his arms and he was very receptive to the agenda that we placed to him, because we put things in writing in order, of course, to make sure that we do not waste time and waste not our time alone, but of course the minister's time. And of course, I think one of the things is on the agenda that we have not yet, of course, let's say, consummate, is, of course, signing a memorandum of understanding between ourselves here under the Employment Resource Center and that of the ministry. So we are working on it. It's a work in progress, and we will be, of course, developing that to ultimate fruition. And once we get that, it means, therefore, that we are looking, of course, at not only employment opportunity domestically, not only employment opportunity regionally, because, you know, we have, of course, an arrangement with CARICOM. We will deal with that, of course, in later. But let's go to the line. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Yeah,
Sorry about
it's on this phone right now. You can read it, right?
All right. So you have it. Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
The two documents.
I'll check it out. Thanks. Yes. Sorry about that. So we have, of course, that kind of situation developing. Let's go to the line. We have another call that we have to, of necessity, take. We always give priority to our callers. A pleasant good night to welcome to the corridor. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Let's see if do something. Oh, yeah. Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry about that. I had the speaker on silence. Sorry. Go ahead.
I know the weather and the dust and the humidity. I am coughing. All things that you remember.
Yeah. I got a bout of whatever it is, but that would not stop the price of coffee.
Because this morning, your input in the Republic Bank with the money and checks and all these things with Mighty K and them, and walking to a security asking you about your money. What's your point on that? I want to hear that on your program tonight.
All right. Yeah, you're certainly going to have it. I have a point of view, because last time we talked about money, and of course there's money worries, and all of the calypsos and the songs that are associated with reggae. We played to, of course, reinforce the fact that there is a fundamental need for money, because money is a medium of exchange, and in modern society, well, clearly, it is even more important than ever before. What is my view? My view is the same as that, as I have expressed this morning, which is, of course, that the banks needs to be reined in. I think that the RATAC needs to be read by the government in terms of their despicable conduct. I think that they are exploitative. I think that they are brutal. I think that they are insensitive to what I consider to be a salubrious condition for promoting business and, of course, the advancement of the economy. In other words, you cannot have a situation where you get a check from a bank, a branch of one bank, and you go back to that bank with the check, and they tell you that you have to have an account before you can get it changed. That is ridiculous. I did not say this morning, however, on the ground report, which I'll be saying now, that if you go to any one of the small islands in the Caribbean, you could go there and take out and open an account in any one of the banks with simply your passport. You know, here you need to have 2 forms of ID. 2 forms, you're locking in access for 3. Yeah, I mean, it is simply ridiculous. So it is stymied the progress of the country. The government of Rowley and, of course, the PNM encourages that simply because these 1%ers who own the bank, they can access the resources of these banks in order to continue their malpractice and their corruption and their inability to manage the affairs of the country. We saw a spectacular display of that level of corruption and mismanagement when, of course, they told us out by some kind of epiphany, just come out in the sky, that they just had this, what I consider to be eureka moment, where they simply had a brilliant idea. What's the brilliant idea? That, of course, the $100 bills is is the preference note for those persons who engage in cocaine for export and engagement, of course, in that kind of narcotic behavior. And then, of course, they are saying that money launderers, that is the currency or the note of choice for Trinidad and Tobago. And therefore, they change the whole thing and tell you that, listen, we are going to give you polymer for your cotton notes. And at the end of the day, when you carry 100,000, the bank tell you, well, no, even though you have a bank phobia, you don't want to bank your money, especially the old traditional persons. You don't want to bank your money. So the bank will now tell you, listen, we run short of polymer, so you'll have to keep half in the bank. And in that slipshod way, in that, of course, conman way, they are able, of course, to get their bank coffers filled. And what we observe is that at the end of the day, the government then, of course, borrow the money in order to continue with their nefarious and anti-democratic and anti-Trinidad and Tobago conduct. So we understand. So we have to correct that. That's the point I'm making, my friend. Go ahead.
My brother, as the political leader for long, as you're going forward of the coalition of interest, you watching all the aspect, and it make me admire you that you watching every single thing to be a leader, that you watching the bank process, all of Mr. Tycoon in the Minister of Finance, you watching for work and doing these things. So I just so glad and look on and listen to your show, and you educate as we go forward.
Thank you very much.
Great night, brother.
Yes, man. Yes, man. And it is ridiculous because what you're in fact doing is not only emasculating the potential of the economy and the progress of the people, because you are engaging, of course, in conduct. I talk about the bank here, who is supposed to be a major pillar, a major fillip in the motivation and advancement of business, because without it, the country will not progress. And yet still you are finding ways and means to emasculate, to stop people from investing. Just imagine an investor comes here to this country and they get a check from, let's say, a client of theirs, and they decide to go and bank or cash that check in their client's bank. And the bank will tell you, Republic Bank I'm talking about here, I have had that experience not more than once. They will tell you, do you have a bank account here? No, the check is made out to that particular branch of Republic Bank. Let us be clear. The check is made out to a particular branch of Republic Bank from a client of the same bank who is a businessman. That is why he has a current account checkbook in his hands. And he issues a check. And when you go to that bank, the bank that he is banking with, they ask you if you have a bank account there. And when you say no, they say they can't change it. What does that do? Not only does it embarrass you, the person who is going to present the check, but it stymies, and of course it has repercussions for the client himself, because I will not want a check from here again. And if he or she pays with a check, well, I'm sorry, take your business somewhere else, or I will take my business somewhere else, because I cannot trust your bank. That is what Republic Bank has done to us. That is the effect of that. And as I said this morning on the ground report, a fella has some money for me, so he takes out a banker's check, a check for which you pay the bank, and you deposit all of the money one time in the bank that is making up the banker's check. I know from commerce and I know from simple accounting that a banker's check is something that cannot be disowned, cannot be dishonored, because you're paying the money already. You pay the bank the money. In this case, in my case, it was $35,000, I believe it was. But he was, of course, in Rio Claro. So he goes to Scotiabank, gets a banker's check, because that's the only thing I would want to believe is the best form of certifying that it's my money, as opposed, of course, as opposed to the money itself. Well, if I get the money itself, better fit. But if I ain't getting the money, I want a banker's check. He sends the banker's check to me by courier because he didn't want to give somebody $35,000 to bring down to Port of Spain for me. So I went, and I'm being specific here. I'm giving you details so you will understand it has been my experience. Our offices was on Park Street at the time, in the Amar building. And of course, Richmond Street was right there. The Richmond Street Scotiabank headquarters. So I trekked up there, I walked up there with the check in my hand and presented it for cashing. They asked me the question as to whether or not I have an account there. I said no, but I want this check cash now. I want the cash now. They said no, you're supposed to have a bank account. So what I did, I was so damn angry that could have been said to me far less for them to act by not honoring that check. A check, mind you, the person who issued it, the person who bought it, let me put it that way, they paid for it. I can't remember how much money he said he paid for it. But of course, it was specially written on, and the figures specially put in on a particular machine. Only the banks have. So the numbers, not the ordinary numbers, it was a machine imprinted numbers on the check to represent $35,000. All of that, it's visible that it is a Scotiabank check. And they told me that I have to have a bank account. In other words, you're telling me that I must open a bank account in your bank in order for this check to be changed. No, I am not a fool, because I know if you tell me open a bank account now, you go tell me yes, you had the form, but I had to get 2 forms of ID. I had to prove that I live in somewhere, so I had to bring ID. I have to bring information about my utility activities, whether it be electricity, whether it be telephone, etc. All of that. And then they tell you they will give you an appointment for a particular day. All that time, my business, what I want to do with the money, is now held up because of that nonsense. Understand that I am talking this way because I'm sure that there are members of the government, current government, that are listening. And that is what the banks of this country have, of course, hamstringed the population and hamstringed business at the same time, particularly small and micro business. I'm sure that the big man, the fellas, of course, who are part of the 1%, they don't have that problem if they come to present a check at these banks. I'm sure they don't have that problem. But the ordinary man, who incidentally, in any country, 60% of the employment is usually carried by small and medium businesses. Anybody with a modicum of economic sense will know that. So when you kill micro and small businesses, you are in fact preventing some future generation individual who may not be born or just born but not yet in the system, not yet part of the work of the working community, of the labor force. In other words, you're preventing them from getting a job because the economy cannot expand, and therefore accommodate them when the time is appropriate. We have something like 14,000 of these young people who would have completed their secondary education coming out of school in July, you know. And just for good measure, I want to tell you that This 14,000, and I'm being generous here because it's closer to 18,000, because 18,000 goes into the system simultaneously in the following, of course, beginning of the school year. I'm just being generous here. I say 14,000. Catering, of course, for persons who may want to go back to school, etc., etc. But 14,000. But the tragedy is this, that they would come out of school in July, but meet the 14,000 that came out of school last July too. And those that come out of school the July before, and the July before, and the July before. So understand. So when the banks play the fool, as they are doing in this country, and why are they doing it? The common refrain is this: Trinidadians are smart men and women, and they get defrauded, etc. That has nothing to do with the lubrication of the economy. Peter cannot pay for Paul, and Paul pay for all. You have to be a damn nincompoop, a fool, and an asinine specimen of inhumanity to be thinking that way. That is how Rowley and them would think. As I said last night, because the people may be corruptly, let's say, taking hampers, you stop the hamper system and you give them food card, as if, of course, that could stop anything. Because what's stopping a fella from getting a food card and tell a grocer, and no grocer will, of course, refuse that, take the whole food card costing about $300 or $400 and give me a bottle of rum. My bottle of rum. So how it's stopping anything? So the ultimate intent of providing food and plugging that hole and making sure that people who have found themselves through the cracks of the society cannot help themselves, then it's those that you want to help. And if it is that the community take it upon themselves and organize and distribute hampers from among the community, that is a better option. Why you're saying that you are going to, of course, artificially, as far as I'm concerned, institute, enshrine, produce, project dignity, because the person could go in a grocery and by themselves and, of course, present the card, and you say that that is dignity. We have exploited that last night. I'm not going to go it over, but that is also asinine. Just as how I said that when you stop the $1,000 for those students in school, ostensibly to deal with, of course, their books, to help with their books, $1,000 can't pay for it. But you have, of course, taken away a psychosocial factor that would have created a situation where whatever you replace it with is counterproductive. A pleasant good night, welcome. We have a caller tonight? All right, good. Yeah, counterproductive. And of course, we went into details and at length with that last night. Let me now invite, of course, my colleague to join me. Of course, as a businessman, and as I said, tonight we are looking at treating with a number of issues. I want, of course, to use the telephone as per usual to call one or two persons who may be interested in the development of Trinidad and Tobago. And of course, we want to make certain that the contributions that are being made is so solid that you out there will have no choice but to say yes, yes, inculcate, sleep on it, and one expects that you will act as a consequence in the interests of not just yourselves, your families, your neighborhood, but Trinidad and Tobago, because that is what this is about. This is the East-West Corridor Transformation Program. East-West Corridor. Welcome, my friend. Pleasant good day to you, my friend. I'm sure that you heard me while you were on your way to your seat. So I'm sure that you have enough material to make a contribution.
I think I enough, but let me introduce my leader of love.
You better come around. You better come around. Senior, only senior halfway. I want to
Lennox
see you
Smith,
whole man.
and I want to say my leader Kamala Prasad and the parliamentary representative, and everybody who listen to the World Wide Web in Trinidad and Tobago, especially listening. And this topic is a very good topic tonight. I want to speak out, but somehow I feel I will get victimized if I really speak out, because I going through the same problem with my business, because I filed for a loan, and it's problem to get a loan. I cried all the papers to get the loan, and they were telling me hold on. From last year to now, it's the same thing. I say it's a black thing. I don't know if anybody else have to say anything about, because my business, it need to build. And imagine this, you want to go through.
Let me come around again, because like you're leaning like
a
half-side kite.
You want to go through one set of requirement. You have to get, you have to get right from the owner of the building to come to make a banking account. You have to write a letter for you to come to you to make this as a business. It's one set of requirements you have to go through to get a loan. You understand? And you still have to set up in the business a letter stating for you to get a loan. And when they go through all these things, still have to wait 2, 3, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months. It's hard, for a man who looking to excel with his business and his family, to try to do something with itself. It's hard to know you have to wait in the banking sector to really produce this loan, because it's Republic Bank kind. And I tried all how to reach out to them people, and them up to now they ain't calling me. All they only telling me all my papers. So I'm saying it now in public, because I know the people in authority who are out there, I know why I asked from them. So I don't know if they'll give me it or they'll look to victimize me, because I saying that, because at the end of the day, it's hard for a businessman to make it out there with the banking sector. It's really for the big set of people out there to make it. The small man didn't stand a chance, because at the end of the day, you had to have one set of requirements to make it out there with the banking sector. A man has come from in my country, dress so, and start to make it with the banking sector. Because I don't know, sometimes the ball is the better color win, or it's just the people along from Trinidad and Tobago, and he's a black man, you ain't have no set of requirements in the banking sector to excel. Nothing at all you have to excel. Because at the end of the day, whatever you put on the table for them to help you, they're putting you down. You ain't giving you a chance at all. You ain't giving you a chance at all. Right now, I have my landlord. You understand? I still had to pay my landlord. I still had to try to carry on my business. How little it is. I want to excel, but they don't say want me excel. They have me in a cabin. When they feel to open the door, they open the door. And it's real hard. You imagine I went to get a loan. I hear what they're telling me. I asked for a certain amount. They're telling me they'll give me $100,000. And I doing wholesale and retail. Do you want to give me that? And I require to excel in my business. I know the income I bring in when the day come, if I get a loan. So I can pay my debts and still look to excel more. They're breaking you down. They let you know as a black man, you can't get that, you can't manage that, you can't do nothing to that. But you know, if I want to go buy a car for 300,000 or 400,000, they're pushing it in my hand. They're pushing it in my hand, here, take that. You were that. But if I want to go and excel in business, it's hard for them to think. Too much requirement, too much breaking down. So I believe the government and the finance minister and everybody who involved in the banking sector, it's time for it to make people see the way in the banking sector. Because I tell you this, as my comrade say, a set of youth coming out, if they're renting, they get a letter from the tenants to go and open a banking account. They have to get a light bill to go and open a banking account if they're renting. They stand no chance. And you're from Trinidad and Tobago. You're not from England. But if an American come here, or an English come here, they just have to show the ID or the passport and everything is okay. But we know we had to go through one set requirement for this to really, for we to save some money and do something with ourselves. No, it's the same thing. I said it's time. We just had to pay like this now. I know let's watch this too. Everybody coming in the country and they not have a visa, but they're coming in and they open up business and they do no kind of thing. For we to go to another country, we had to have visa, we had to spend money to come in them country. And we can to open business, it's hard for me to open business. But people know coming in the country with all them kind of things and being successful. They're being successful. But I wish what I say here, it fall in the right ears and did not victimize me for what I saying, because I holding on. It's weeks and months I holding on. I trying to follow the right protocol to really succeed. And every time I try, it's something different. Something had to happen. Something, he ain't had this, he ain't had that. And I'm still doing it, and I'm still holding on.
Yes indeed, yes indeed, yes indeed, man. We dealing with facts here, we dealing with reality, and we dealing with existential experiences. Let me just see if I can get you on the system itself. I'm trying to get you on the system, but I ain't seen it coming up. All right, let me go on the handset then, because I'm not seeing it coming up. Sorry about that. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Yes, good night, Mr. Lennox, and good night to Mr. Taylor.
Yes, man.
And to everybody who's on the live. Mr. Lennox, listen now. What I want to find out is the current government, right? At this point in time, they can't bring legislation to put the bank in a certain order. Because here what happening. I can't understand how the banks has behaved the way they behave now. Because earlier on I heard you speaking about I up and down in the house and all kind of thing now, right? And now I hear the brother speaking here, right? And I find it so difficult to understand why the banks has behaved, the way they behaving towards the citizens of this country, especially black people. I mean not unusual, but that is what you'll be seeing as the order of the day in this country, and this nonsense has to stop. The bank have to be streamlined, you understand, to do the right thing. So I am asking the question is, cannot the government put legislation in place, right, to deal with these issues?
I think so. I should think so. Nothing should prohibit the government from demanding via legislation that the bank acts fairly, act rationally, act with a high degree of decorum that is sustainable, one, and two, that promotes business, because without business the government itself will be found short, and then the population will call them to account for not being able, of course, to provide the conditions for the expansion of the economy, the generation of employment, and of course of people feeling that they have a sense of well-being because they can get wealthy if they work hard.
Yes, because I think Andy Kamala should really bring legislation to deal with this, because when you think about the profits that these people does make, you only hear they make X amount of millions,
Yeah,
and millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Right?
And these are the
you
kind of
telling me
complaints that you're getting. Yeah.
Yes. I find that it's so unfair and so unjust.
Yeah.
You understand? Anyway, I will call back because I have another complaint to make, but I will call back. Let me give somebody else a chance.
All right, my friend, let me see what is happening here. I'm seeing this thing here and I'm not getting, why is it not coming on system? All right, let me thank you very much. Sorry about that. We are seeing something on the screen, but it is not clear. It is not visible. So we have to use the handset. Go ahead, caller. Sorry about that.
A pleasant good night to you, Uncle Lennox, and
Good
all
night
the
to you, my
listeners. And I would like all the listeners to share the live and tell them we need the 40,000 viewership, or we take 40,000 in cash, $1 every day. So, Uncle Lennox, to your friend, Mr. Smith, and Uncle Lennox Smith, a pleasant good night. Uncle Lennox, with your kind permission, could I say happy arrival day to the diaspora of the East Indians and other races who had arrived to this country?
Oh, certainly, by all means, my friend. By all means, man. The honor will be ours to, of course, facilitate. Go ahead.
Right. And in the beginning of your show, I heard when you say that you want to know where love originated from and how the true love of Lavantil you're talking about outreach for empowerment, right?
Yes.
So I will use as this East Indian occasion is coming up. We are a few days away in celebrating a landmark of the East Indian diaspora.
Yes, arrival day.
Right?
Yes. Indian arrival day, yes.
Yeah. Then in Hinduism, they bring a religion called Hinduism, right?
Mm.
And the East Indian diaspora, no matter what it is, the Muslim, Christian, we say Hindu Trinidadians, right?
Yes.
So you understand, right?
Yes.
So I'm talking on the topic of Hinduism. Now in Hinduism, it said there was a great king called Ravan,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he was one of the most faithful devotees to God, right?
Right.
The supreme being. But it had two gentlemen, Ram and Krishna, right? And because of Ravan's love for a young lady named Sita, who is Lakshmi Mai, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lakshmi Mata, he put these two fellas into exile, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just that he could get in love and for her to love him, right? But these two gentlemen, the love and the dedication they had for the people when they was in exile in the forest and they were going around, right? People welcomed them and they were helping and teaching others, the ordinary citizens in the forest, where they come across to, how to uplift themselves.
Uh-huh.
So while Ram and Krishna was going to the meet, just like how you and Mr. Smith on the other side is going to Lavantil from since in the 80s coming up the road and trying to make any difference with all of the citizens of Lavantil, showing them the way, bringing them into the fold for upliftment, right? And to be a better person. I think I tied in to say that your love is just equal to these two gentlemen, what they call Ram and Krishna, right?
Right.
With Ravan, exiled. So your love is to bring, so I'm showing that the listeners understand that you are just as one who, for people and the citizens of Lavantil, to uplift them, But in Hinduism, we say dharma, right?
Okay.
And that is the religion and the upbringing. So that is one part. Now we will deal with the banking sector. The state owned 3 financial mega industries, right? Unit Trust, First Citizen, and 51% in Republic Bank.
Right.
Let me make no bones about that, right? We only have Scotia and RBTT, right? And RBTT and Scotia in jumping up and doing whatever matrix they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
But these 3 banks belong to the state. And if the board of directors and the bank and them, because for example, Republic Bank, the board had hijacked Mr. Ronald Harford, as in it said, I, Mr. Faizabad, you could give them a name and my address because you come home by me already.
I hear you.
That the board, they threw out Mr. Ronald Harford, and India say that he could. India say that he could not keep his position on the board.
Right.
And since they install a board in Republic Bank, because we are the majority shareholder, the state do it, right?
Yes.
They say it had no interference. No, you say it only had 2 former ID. The license of former ID to identify who is out of a thing without a picture, right?
Mm.
And Unit Trust boasts about $1 billion, right? And $3 and $4 billion a quarter in unit profit.
Uh-huh.
Republic Bank every quarter, the last quarter one there is 1 point something. What about First Citizen, right? But you will see ministers in the last government get a note, just a note, and they're going to get $135 million US and blow it up. You know that's all familiar?
Yes, of course. Nikewan.
Right?
Nikewan, yes, Nikewan.
Yeah. With Nikewan Industries.
Yes.
And if we feel that was the only one that Nikewan, right? What about the highway to Point 14, right? When they raise and the government borrow money from the financial institution, right? But when they give an excusal to a merchant bank in a corner shop, without any, where is the procurement? So, I want to say it plain as I could say it, and I feel you might vex with me, because they'll say, you feel a step out of line.
Go ahead.
The African diaspora, I will repeat it slowly. The African diaspora was taken for a ride from since 1953 to 2024 for a ride on a horse, but they didn't sit on the back of the horse, they hold on to the tail, and they was at the sticky end of the horse. And they never, so you see the evidence today that the PNM never wanted the African diaspora to prosper across the board. When they keep them how they are today and seen this kind of trouble, they get a soft loan, right? They keep them down and you have to depend only on URP, CPEP, and your little government work. And they was chasing them outside and give them contract. No job security. So you see, so thank God that the African diaspora wake up in time to see that the slave master of the day was putting them in a deeper bondage that they could not come out. So why it is a credit union could give a man, right, a loan, and then when he gets the payment or a contract, he deposited in the private account, but not on the account of the credit union where he take the loan. Have a pleasant good night, Uncle Lennox.
Thank you very much.
Good night. Did you get the email?
Yes, pleasant good night. Pleasant good night. You are on the corridor transfer formation.
Good night to you too.
You're talking about the email,
Yeah.
If I received it, I've not yet checked. We're on a program right now from 8 o'clock, so
okay.
I know
later.
that you, a man, will want to make a contribution. I know you have ideas about transportation, etc.
I'll make a contribution.
Yeah. On any topic that you would want to share with us at this point in time. I can't let a man like you go away without making a contribution.
I agree. I hear you. I hear you loud and clear. The contribution will be like, I saw something that is said concern if Laventille will be our marginal seats.
Yes.
I do believe that the effort and the work that you are putting in there, it will not be our marginal seats. It will belong to you.
Thank you.
I am confident of that because the people there would see what you are doing and the results of it. So I wish you luck with that.
Thank you very much.
And I know it will happen.
Yes. I too have confidence. I don't want to be like Moses. I could only view the promised land, but I can't enter. So
You're going to be there. You're going to be there.
I'll be there. Thank you very much for that contribution. I will
Okay,
take a
take
look
care.
at that email tonight. Yes, indeed. Of course, you were on a roll there, only to say, because we have to be able to identify the culprits, or put another way, the conspirators in this effort to try to emasculate and to, of course, prevent persons from gravitating to or working their way up the social ladder to be part of not just the middle class but the upper class. It appears that there is a deliberate plot to keep people in a particular zone, so to speak. And once you are there, the rest of them are comfortable. While some eat ham, lamb, jam, and everything else, there are others who can eat without a choice, or maybe have to choose among them or between them, rather than having all of them to, of course, at your disposal. But the other conspirator I want to tell you in this particular, what I consider the matrix of deception and avarice and greed, corruption, nepotism, and cronyism, is the regulators. We have a banking ombudsman, we have an insurance ombudsman, and we have, of course, what is called the Securities Exchange Commission, and we also have equal opportunities, not equal opportunities, no, but a fair play, or a fair organization that deals with the fairness in business. The exact name, of course, have evaded me for the time being, but I'll get it during the course of the program. But I'm saying that where are these people? How it is that a bank could issue a banker's check paid for, and then when the check is presented to the bank, a branch of the same bank, they are telling you that, listen, you have to open a bank account in order for you to get your money. Go ahead, my friend.
You know, as my leader, you have a say that is hogwash.
Yeah, hogwash, of course
Hogwash.
it is. And we need to tell them in the face,
Hogwash.
hogwash.
Yeah, but this
That is evil, that is wicked, that is exploitative. That is what that is. Go ahead, my friend.
You know, I get an opportunity in life for my children from the owner of the property to sold me the property. I talk to the bankers and them about that. So I could get a letter from the owner to come to buy the property, and it will go through the bank, and I will just have to pay the bank. They tell me, no, I can't get that. I had to have some kind of land, or I had to have some kind
Additional collateral?
and
Wow.
all them kind of things before I get a deal like this. There's a 1 in a million deal I get here, you know, as a black poor man, you know, to own a big business in town, you know, where I could pay the bank I could pay the bank. I know I could work to pay the bank. Me and my wife, we could work to pay the bank. But you telling me no, I can't cut a deal like that. But if somebody else come in my country, them can cut a deal like that. And when they make the money, they're going back in the next country and draining the economy. They're going back in the next country and draining the economy.
But can I say that the very people from whom you are now purchasing, well, isn't that a classic case where they themselves came in and was able to acquire that property, but now they have made all whatever they had to make, or for whatever reason they have decided to stop business, maybe because of they reach the 4 scores or 3 scores and 10, they reach the age, they're tired and so on, and you get the opportunity and they wouldn't give it to you now.
I tell you.
The banks wouldn't give it to you.
The people tired right now, the people in the country right now. They come, I have to see if I can reach out with the banking sector to see if I can grab this deal, because them just come just for a time to go in and them want them money. Them want to see if I capable of it's 3 years I had this thing here. 3 years I had this.
So them trust you, but the bank doesn't.
The bank can trust me.
Interesting.
And listen me, it's Chinese, you know.
I told you when we reached there, I wanted the people to know.
It's Chinese, you know.
So they came into the country, build their fortunes, and now, of course, give an African guy the opportunity for whatever reason. And here it is, the banks will not. But if they were still operating there, I could bet you bottom dollar the bank would have, of course, opened up, not just consider them, but open up the vault and give them. Yes.
Yes, sir. And them trust me to cry on this. Leave me with stocks. Leave me just to pay rent and stocks as a man. And I pay off my stocks. And I look at the Excel now and the banking sector denying me the opportunity of purchasing this building and getting a loan. Too much. Boy, all you have to know, all they're doing, all they like.
That's too much for you.
You understand me? That if I ask for 6 million, it's too much for me. I leave the property in all the hand. I pay off the loan. Stuck in and paying off the loan. I know that all had the property. It's in all the hand. And all they denying me. And I had to go through so much protocol. We can't get that and all them kind of thing. And I had to talk to all the superior and all them kind of thing. Come on now, man. All the smelly roses for people, man.
Well, I said it before, and I think it's worth reiterating now. That's the first time I met Mr. Amar. I was made a director under the Pandey administration of SBDC. And we triggered or launched a survey, a research. We deployed, of course, organization from Sweden to tell us what are the discriminatory factors, if there are at all any, that would prevent business from developing in the country, one, and two, the approaches to the bank and the responses by the bank, or the response of the bank to person applying for loans. And the research was clear. If you are African, you have difficulty in getting a loan in the banks. And Republic Bank, Scotia Bank, First Citizen Bank are no exceptions. All of them have been guilty of that for one. Some, of course, more than others, but the fact of the matter is that that has been the results of the research. The other factor is, because I was particularly interested in that part of it, if you are African and you're from Laventille, you get no loan. Well, my friend, you are African and you are from Laventille, you are from East Port of Spain, and essentially is that you are part and parcel of Laventille, and therefore they will carry you through the ropes, they will carry you through the process, they will tell you that you were considered, but of course you were denied. And they will give you all kinds of excuses as to why that denying occurred, and then of course they leave you to the wolves. Go ahead.
You know, I want to make a difference in my constituency in Laventille. I want to make that difference. I want the youths to come and see here what happen. That's why I vote for and come out and campaign with UNC and love, because I want to make a difference as a black business.
Let's hold on. We have a call on the line. Pleasant good night to you. Welcome to the corridor.
Pleasant good afternoon, my brother.
Yes, man.
Right. I know the pain because I went for a loan. Pleasant good night, my brother.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, pleasant good night to you.
So you were in a similar situation, or you have a similar experience. Go ahead, relate
I
it.
went a loan in Royal Bank for $40,000.
Okay.
And they're telling me I had to get them 40 to about 40. When I took my 40 about 40, and they want to earn interest. Lennox, the banking system in Trinidad and Tobago is wrong side. It's like an Oreo.
It stink.
They're like
nasty.
They're black. You understand, Lennox?
Yes.
Come on, Lennox, you know it. You understand? We feel the pain. It's only the 1% people that get money fast.
Yeah.
Right? Tell me, I went to the bank for 40,000. They tell me I had to put 40,000 to borrow 40,000 per interest. What do you think on that, Mr. Lennox?
Yeah, well, of course, if you had 40,000, you didn't need to go to the bank. No. The damn fools like that.
That's what I'm saying.
If you had 40,000, there was no need for you to go to the bank.
Exactly.
Because you went for 40,000. Or they could tell you, give them 40,000 for you to get 40,000. What kind of arsoness is that?
People like black and Oreo, only 1% they will see about. I feel for my partner, Mr. Ricky Taylor. He in a jam right now.
Right.
He asking for help. He asking to get his business off the ground. It have NECO, it have these places, institutions to give him something. But why they hold him back? Because he's from Lavantel. Lennox, I can tell you something. Them only degrading me as under was the PNM. But I hope as you as the coalition of interest, you could get money borrowed and give him to start his business up and running. I just hope in your good faith.
Yes.
Right, Mr.
Well,
Lennox?
we are going to
Enjoy
do,
your night.
I am going to do my utmost. I have already started the process, but I think it's very unfortunate that the banks are not as facilitatory as they ought to be, and which of course, the raison d'etre, the reason for existence, is to facilitate, to promote business in particular, because they want to expand. When businesses expand, the economy expands, and they get more profit. Exactly. But what they do, they target a specific area, a niche area, so that if you want to photocopy a document, they charge you $10. When of course the market going price, if you go by photocopying place, it's 50 cents. That is what they do. And if they get thousands of that during the year, you know how much money they would have, of course, accumulate for a service that is not just unacceptable and not just overpriced, but is wicked and evil. Wicked and evil. I'm sure you have some more experiences you want to share with us.
I want to make a difference in my area in Lavantel. And I, as a black man who get a chance, it have plenty black people who get a chance like this in life. That's why you see now, I want people to look up at me and say, yes, look Ricky Taylor boy. Watch how he shining, his business going good. I don't want people look back and say, hey, black man boy, black man can't do business boy. Look black man, that business going down, he can't do business. You understand? That's why you see now, I was getting pressure from the last regime. PNM. I come out and campaign with love for UNC with the Ambler of we. And I looking to see if I can get a difference between small business and black people succeeding in the goals and not being victimized by other people, the banking sector, the 1%, and all who want to victimize people comes from the goals. I don't want to see that. I believe my Prime Minister, Ms. Kamala Prasad, she's a loving person, she have a heart, and I know she's very religious. And I knowing them personally, the people who are there listening to we tonight, know we about the people. We is about the people. And I will put it in this way now. It didn't have to be black, you know. It had to be regional in the country. The small people. I just bring it in that way because I from on the hill. I from on the hill. So I see that kind of thing fighting me like a snake running in my heart, trying to keep me along with my children. Anyhow I try, I fail. Anyhow I look so, I fail. So that's why I come to the point like it's a black thing. But I deal in country. I deal in country. And it's time this thing have to deal with. A goal going to get away from me here, you know. Because I don't know where my landlord was saying. You know, it's a start over from opportunity, a billing. It's girls I have, you know. It's girls I have. The youngest is 6 years. There's 3 girls I have. And where I go, I just have a place to stay. I'm renting and I'm living in the building. So when the landlord come and throw me out and say, here what happened? You can't make it. Where all you want me go? Where all you want me do? All you want me to come in the street and everybody laugh at me and say, what that black man, he was running a business. And watch him. He had nothing now. He like a dog in the road. It's street talk I talking here. You know? Me talking, not stupid talking. He like a dog in the road. Boy, go on from here now, boy. You didn't have a business here today and you run it down. You run it down. What you know? You have, give me $1 now, God, please. Give me a $5 now. I want to buy something for my children and them to eat. Yeah. I only want people to do out here again. All come be real now, man. Be real. That's why you see now. That's why you see now, I personally going down with UNC government, you know, because I see them can make a change. Ms. Kamala, I know you can make a change. Right now, I need help. Quick and fast, and I don't know who to lead on. The banking sector denying me because the bosses said it, and the bosses said that, and it can't happen, and they get denied. I get denied about, it's 2 years and something, going on 3 years, I get denied. And I just living to parent and not to excel. Come on now, man. Only watch me. Anyhow, let me sell enough stock. I'm too emotional right now.
I hear you, my friend. But I want to put this man's position in perspective. Because I'm sure that there are those of you out there who are saying that of course, if you didn't manage your affairs in the way that you ought to have, that you would not have been, of course, having to express yourself in the way that you are doing on this program. But I want to tell you that is human, but this is not about error. This is a situation where an African guy got an opportunity, has in a very, what I consider to be prosperous location. The location is prosperous, even though, of course, the area may have a bad reputation, but people have been doing business there from time immemorial, and are doing so successfully, whether it's Chinese or any other, of course, racial grouping. In this case, of course, it has been passed on to this man. But up comes what? COVID. Let me repeat, for those of you who, of course, are scoffing and skinning your face and saying, of course, that black man can't do business. I know some of you are that inclined. Up came COVID, and businesses like his, whether you want to call it quasi entertainment or you want to call it hybrid entertainment, or you want to call it entertainment per se, what we know for sure, what is common among all of those that I have indicated earlier, is that COVID devastated these businesses. Look, even people with doubles recovered and are recovering. They didn't get the businesses shut down. Well, almost half of the pubs and or bars in the country, especially when they would have found themselves in a situation like our friend here, where the property is not theirs, one, they have to pay a high rent, comparatively speaking, and of course they have to pay all of the utilities that is associated with it, whether it's water, whether it be, of course, electricity, and most importantly, they have a recurring expenditure of what? Of salaries. And the government of the day shut down the blasted country. You know what I say? I said the government of the day shut down the country. And so, in such circumstance, I never bothered, of course, so when they were pleaded with to assist, they then come with a jokey, a slipshod, conman and conwoman agenda and say that they assisted for 3 months. And they're giving you maximum $3,000, but generally $1,500 to compensate you for the months that they would have, of course, caused the shutting down of all of these businesses, and therefore people would have lost their businesses depending on the nature and the state at which it would have been at when these measures were implemented. Let's not waste time. Let us not waste time. A person, good night.
Hello,
Welcome
good night.
to the corridor. Welcome to the corridor.
Yeah, good night.
Good night, Mr. Lennox.
Yes, good night.
Are you sounding so arrogant tonight?
That is arrogance, or I'm passionate.
Oh, you kind of not sure something, I'm bugging you or something?
No, I thought you called in. Well, all right, you are on the corridor transformation every night from 8 o'clock. So you are right in the middle of it. You want to make a comment?
No, I don't want to make no comment. I don't want to make no comment right now, Mr.
Right, okay, all right, my friend. All right, well, call me in the morning, if it's something else you want to talk about. All right? Yeah.
Okay.
All right, my friend, yes. Or I should have told him what station to look for it. All right, and that being as it may, you will get that from these parts from time to time, because if you're a person in demand, then your services will be almost 24/7. Let me put it that way. But let's get back, of course, to the plight of this man. Because you see, I am talking here because he represents a microcosm of what is the reality in Trinidad and Tobago, and for the black man, the African man in particular, who would have been subjected to that awful period called the COVID period. And the policies and programs and the measures that would have been adopted ostensibly to save Trinidad and Tobago is the first government that says that, of course, it ignored potholes because it wanted to save the people. And then out of a population of 1.5 million people, 5,000 died. 5,000 died. And of course, they're saying that somehow they were the best in the world. That's what they told us. Because they had a parallel system, different to that of Grenada, St. Vincent, and the other countries and so on. But yet still 5,000 died from COVID. So we know we ought to by now, asking them, of course, as in olden days, as Rowley would have said, these fellas must go to the gallows. They must be beheaded. That's what Rowley said. I'm quoting what Rowley said. In situations like that where you have been so despicable, where your mismanagement was so egregious that you really had to see these people as treasonous, and therefore, of course, going to the gallows, it was just a matter of course. But let's go to the line. A pleasant good night to welcome to the corridor.
Lennox, a pleasant good night to you and your co-host.
Yes, man.
Pleasant good night. Well, I want to say that the two all they were seeing down there looking like Batman and Robin. Right?
Thank you. I hope that's a compliment to us.
Because I realize it has been hard to get on the report that I'm on.
All right.
And I'm listening to people talking about the media, the local media that we have, TV6, CNC, Shuya, and TTT.
Yes.
And people saying that they should be able to boycott them. Which is a good idea. But I say to myself that if Kamala could even create another network, you understand, for the people, and don't get no news reporter, get journalists or correspondents really actually go there and put the real news, the right news for people. And the next thing I want to touch on before I go on to, you see the internet providers we have right now, Be Mobile and Digicel and Ampere and all these people, and then we need to get some more internet providers inside here. Even the phone networks and all too, we need to get about 6 different phone companies inside here. And we don't want them to go through the STT at all. We want all of them to be independent. So people have the right to choose, and when it's a competition inside here, the rates will be competitive enough for people to afford to put data plan and whatever on the phone. Because these two dinosaurs we are right now, it's eating me out right now, because a lot of people complaining and not getting proper service with these network and them. So if we could expand on our local television channels and then our internet, just name it, because we need to get something done inside there. But these people and them, according to you in the earlies, the PNM using the media for the propaganda machine. We have to unseat them from that area, or create a next dimension so that they can put the tentacles inside that area. Right, Lennox? So, yes. I don't know who it is in the ministry you could talk to get other internet providers inside here, other phone companies inside here, but Trinidad and Tobago needed about this time. Because we can't be going back into the 1980s and the 1970s with this two phone system nonsense. We've been 2025. And I know Kamala will do a good job in getting this thing done, because people want options for these things and them. I want options. You understand? So look on and listen.
Thank you very much, my friend. Of course, a little twist from the substantive issue that we are discussing, but certainly relevant, because of course it has to do with the economy. It has to do with the quality of life. It has to do with the standard of living. And when, of course, there is competition, as we said earlier, and of course we know that the regulators, and they have been tardy they have been indolent, they have been lazy, and they have been in some instances, and while of course I don't have the proof, but I can speculate that they are in conspiracy with the 1% that of course control the commanding heights of the private sector in the country. And of course in that grouping, some 80% of the private wealth, that small grouping, 80% of the private wealth in the country resides. So therefore we know that there is inequality. We know that equity does not exist, and that because of that power that is reside in that small grouping of persons, they can of course generate the kind of havoc. And I want to tell you, when things go bad, they generate as well social upheaval in a country when the masses recognize that they have been exploited to such a degree that they can no longer countenance or tolerate that level of what I consider to be macabre behavior, that level of barbarianism that they have, of course, to respond, and then, of course, the country has to mash up in order for it to get back, unlike Humpty Dumpty, to put itself together again. That is the reality that we are facing. But let me get back, of course, to the microcosm that, of course, my friend represents as far as the policies and programs of the Rowley administration, then Young administration, a fellow who seemed to get old very fast. But I suppose the name describes him because, of course, he had one day as prime minister, so he get old real fast. I don't know what is going to be said of him as far as history when they're recording, of course, prime ministers in this country. He may have to be left out because his stint was so damn short. But that being as it may, the fact of the matter is that the government of the day instituted COVID regulations and COVID policies and actions that caused the demise, the destruction of small and micro businesses in this country, and businesses like his. While of course he would provide services such as grocery items, but he relied very heavily on alcoholic beverages, and the government closed down that sector all entirely and told us that they will provide a little $3,000 for a particular period. Well, almost none of them got. I was intrinsically involved trying to help some of them, but the criteria alone was so prohibitive that it appeared that it was designed for them to fail and not even access the $3,000 that it turned out to be some $22 billion that they spent on COVID and could not have accounted. And I expect, of course, that there will be a commission of inquiry at minimum by this government to find out where the money went, COVID money went. $22 billion in total. They couldn't even account for it. But let's go to the line. A pleasant good night to welcome to the corridor.
Good night, Lennox, and to your guest there with you.
Yes, man.
Yeah, good night.
Lennox, are you in the PNM sycophant following on social media saying that the government has done away with MyLat and MyHealth? Under Philip Watch, they say that this government has stopped that program. Are you aware of that?
What program? Repeat.
MyLat and MyHealth.
MyLap and MyTap. No, I am not aware at all. And if they did, it would have been replaced by something that would have been much more superior. I can assure you.
What they're trying to say is that they don't want people trying to learn anything, and they stop that so that they could be on the streets And you know they say race business now, race meeting now, that they want black people children on the street now.
Well,
That
yeah,
is what they say.
of course, the PNM sycophants and the apologists will say that. But of course, I want them to account to the fact that they decriminalized marijuana, for example, and did not put measures in place to prevent young people from accessing that drug. And so, of course, I have provided the basis for young people not only to be lazy, but to engage. We see them, of course, in the school on the school compounds and near the schools, and engaging, because you no longer could hold them for the drug because it has been decriminalized. And then, of course, they will also have to account for the fact that under the Rowley PNM administration, you had 3 consecutive breaking record of murders. Account for that. And then they will have to tell us that when Kamla Prasad Bisesa and the UNC left government in 2010, there was over $12 billion US in reserve. And by the time they got back into office 9 years thereabout later, there is only about 4 to 6 billion in the same reserve. Let them tell us that. Let them tell us why it is that they had to enter the Heritage and Civilization Fund and how much times. They must tell us, of course, that why it is that they betrayed the people when they said that they will not engage, of course, in raising of gasoline and other energy products that will fuel not only industry but for domestic consumption. Tell us that. Tell us, yes, indeed, as to why it is that they would have engaged in the manifestly destructive conduct of undermining the criminal justice system by perverting the course of criminal justice. First, of course, with respect to the fake oil matter, where Rowley's name itself, the Prime Minister, was harbored. And secondly, the entire cabinet of that particular administration caused, without any justification, the closure of Petrotrin and therefore the lack of foreign exchange in this country. They must tell us that. They must tell us how come the then Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi, unfortunately back in the Senate, of course, will be a total nincompoop. The longest, I understand, a person took to get his law degree. But nonetheless, Penny Beckles see him as fit for a purpose. Well, we're going to deal with him when that time comes. But why it is that he, of course, tried to set up Anand Ramlogan and Ramdeen by, of course, causing somebody to lie in a statement. I'm talking about Vincent Nelson. And of course, Rowley was up and down the country at that time, saying that, of course, a big lawyer from England was assisting them to put Kamla Prasad Bisesa and, of course, her cohorts in silver bracelets and the blue lights. Tell us that, and then you could talk to us. Haul all your tales. Haul all your tales. Whosoever have that notion that they could talk that kind of hogwash and come either on this live or any live without an explanation as to what the PNM has done and have not accounted for with respect to all of the above. Go ahead, my friend.
I think you need to go and expose in Parliament when you get a senatorial position, yeah? You need to go there and ask them that, because that's the only way to go and answer you back.
I agree agree with you, my friend. And who knows? Be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah. You'll get through something.
Yes,
let's give me 1 second. Just do some follow-up story on that thing I asked you about with Philip Watson, the Milat and my wherever the other one name, right?
Yeah.
My helper. Right, and let me know what's going on with that.
Yeah, I will certainly do that. My lap, my tap is one. Yeah, 2 of the programs of the
right, and I'll send you the documents and you read it out, boy.
Boy, I am trying to get it now. In fact, whilst we're talking, I'm multitasking. I'm trying to pull it up, but I
Read it out. You must
all right,
call
all
out
right.
what government doing.
Let me see if I can read it from there. I'm trying to get it on a Word document, and then I could read it better because I could expand it at
It's on the
will.
phone,
I know it's on the phone, but I wanted to get it on a copy it from there, put it on a Word document, use the technology, and get it larger than it would look on the phone. But I will deal with it. I'm bound to get it before the night finishes. Yes, my friend. So people, I want to tell you that he is not alone, and the $22 billion must be accounted for. They stole the people's money. And mind you, let me tell you why he probably couldn't even access the $3,000 during COVID. I think they did it more than once. And they also provided a provision, I think, with one of the credit unions. Yes, or was it First Citizen Bank? Whichever. They provided a facility to get people to be given a sum of money to compensate them, but they say it's a loan. So nobody, they had to read the next budget to say that nobody took up the deal, because they were the ones that closed down all of these businesses by their conduct. Whether they're trying to save lives or not, that is irrelevant. The fact is that you cause it. And whilst we are talking that talk, the PNM gone government must be taken to the International Criminal Court for what is called gerenticide, the killing of our senior citizens. Gerenticide. And I will tell you something. This is a secret. I have been making overtures to take them to the blasted International Criminal Court for gerenticide. It is different, of course, from the other side. Genocide is different. Gerenticide is the killing of our senior citizens. And Rowley confessed to it when he said, and he told, of course, senior citizens, go to the various places where they are making vaccine available. And then he come back and say, after 3 days, people going out there. And of course, the talk was, they were under duress. They were saying that if you didn't go and take the vaccine, you wouldn't get your pension. And it is not far-fetched to think that Rowley would have done it, because he threatened ultimately the public servants as well, and tell them that if you don't go and take it, and if you decide to stay home, that is not permissible. You will be cut off from a salary, not having any concern for people paying their regular light bills, their mortgages, for their cars, for their children to go to school, and for, of course, their children that may be at university. That is the kind of evil that perpetrated and was pervasive during this evil government administration between 2015 and 20, of course, 25, April 28. Understand that? Or they can talk, hollow their tails, and get out of our faces and go and rest, preferably in the Bocas or in the blasted Gulf of Paria, never to be seen anymore. We're telling them about. So, the situation was this. In order for you to access that $3,000, let me tell you carefully, because I had a whole stack of them helping people from bars, doubles, selling doubles, wayside food vendors, etc. And guess what? On the form that you had to fill out, apart from the fact that it's about 5 pages you had to fill out for $3,000 in COVID, and people's businesses were lost and floundering because of the government's policy. guess what? A part of that requirement was that somebody must know you doing that business for 3 years. But guess what? The person had to be a sergeant of police, a doctor, etc., etc., etc. Yeah. Tell me, what are the chances that a sergeant will be, of course, buying or patronizing this man's business for 3 years so that he could get that person to say that he know him doing business? These people are criminals. Let us not waste time with that. So don't vex with him because, of course, he hitched his wagon to the UNC. He has a right so to do. And don't get me vexed before, of course, I take you to the next level. Because you had to tell Warner and them the same thing too. Because they hitched their wagons and not their political, but their business fortune onto the PNM to get what? Favors. So wait, tell me about, so if he attaches his wagon to the UNC to get favors, what is wrong with that? What is wrong with that? Because Warner, not only was he charged for illegal quarrying, but a couple of days afterwards, they give him, he suddenly get a quarrying license, though temporary, but it was a quarrying license because of his connection to Rowley and the PNM. Hollow the tail, only want to do what only want. And of course, it then become self-righteous indignationers. Yeah, that is a word I make up there, but I saw it damn good. Yeah, self-righteous indignationers. Yes, indeed. Let me go to the phone here. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Mr. Lennox.
Yes, good night to you.
Good night. I just the topic that you guys was speaking about the loans and whatever.
Yes.
This is my personal thing there.
Go ahead.
That the PNM enslaved their own. That's the only way they can remain in power.
Yes.
And it still will remain so up till today, unless that the present government have enough votes inside that they could interfere with the constitution and we could get change.
Yes.
Other than that, the system will continue, and that is against the population. Because when they enslave you, you are dependent on them. For a fish every day, they will not teach you to fish. This is my personal opinion.
Yes, thank you very much for that intervention and that contribution. And you are so right. There's a need, of course, of fundamental, structural, and of course, legal changes. And I'm sure that the present administration has the capacity and the numbers. We have a 2/3, a 3/5 majority, and I'm sure it's going to be used for those very corrective measures that you have just identified. All right? Yeah. Thank you, and have a good one as well. Yes. The fact of the matter is that that form was designed to hoodwink people. You see, they believe that all of us are fools because when Biden had the same issue of attempting, of course, to give to his people who would have been out of work because they had to stay home. That was part of the policy. Guess what? They made available to everybody who was on social welfare in that country. They issue a check to them. Rowley and them had $22 billion. And instead they give you a form to fill out that they know most people can't fill in the first place because some of them may have reading and writing challenges because it's ordinary people who have micro businesses. They must know that the common sense will tell, but no, the intention was to steal our money. Because you see, there was an easy way to distribute that money to every single adult in this country. All you had to do was to go to the EBC. Anybody on that roll, except maybe if you died recently, but then of course the money will return. But all you had to do was to get EBC to give you the list of persons that are on their roll or their database, and you simply issue a check to all of them, like what you would do when it's election time. Election time, you issue, of course, where it is possible, to everybody a polling card, and then they simply, of course, go and vote with their polling card. So why that could not have been? It could not have been because, and while of course at the time it required of course thinking out of the box in order to get the resources to the people who were struggling and who ended up in the hospital below tents, and they went there good and come back out with COVID. As the senior citizens that he said, he encouraged to go to vaccination centers that they set up. And they went and they assembled. They were all masked, yes. But you cannot have senior citizens stand up in the rain and or sunlight. And for the whole day, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours, waiting for you to bring vaccines that never was and never came. Never was and never came. And they must want to ease themselves. And nobody could say when they would want to ease themselves, whether to urinate or to defecate. And so they will assemble by the toilet area in places where that never catered for 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 10 persons assembling together in order to wait to their turn to get it to the toilet. They tell them about. And so what will happen? They had to talk, so they will pull down their mask. And before, of course, you reach your mouth, you have to expose your nose. And so you had mass spreading of that virus right in those circumstances. That is what Rowley and the PNM did to our senior citizens and caused trauma, pain, ache, agony, and stress to, of course, their families who never expected their loved one to go so fast. But because Rowley and them said that they threatened their pension, and many of them rely on the elder ones to assist them with their pension, so they carry them and ended up with them in a coffin. And Rowley simply said, without of course saying that, listen, we caused it, because he said that they caused it. It was an untenable situation, he said. He said that they tried, of course, believing that they would have gotten the vaccine but didn't get it, and therefore it was the fault of the government. That is what he said. He is on, don't get me vexed before a plate now, you know. Don't get me blasted vexed before a plate now, you know, because that is egregious, and that is awful, that is horrendous, and that is inhumane. The conduct of that government and those persons who manage the affairs, or should I say mismanage our affairs between 2015 and the 28th of April 2025. That's not waste time. That is what transpired, and therefore they should be taken, all of them, to the International Criminal Court. But of course there's a process. I know the process because I did it already, so I know. The assassin and the Rowley must be, of course, the vicarious individuals responsible for that macabre situation that they created. They must be held accountable internationally. They're telling me about. And they therefore plunge hundreds of families into unnecessary expense, funeral expense. And we had, of course, bringing up the rear not to be outdone, unscrupulous funeral agents and agencies who then start, of course, to move the price for burying an individual from 7,000 to 17,000 and 25,000, etc. That is what Rowley and Day set up and caused to happen. Just waste time with that. They must be, of course, brought to justice. And I say that the International Criminal Court must be a consideration, a real one, a real option. Just as how, of course, they told the public servants, listen, the private sector, by their behest and their encouragement and cajoling, the private sector starts to say, there's an opportunity here. I could get rid of long-standing employees who don't want to take the job. You just dismiss with nothing, go home, nothing. And they get new people now to fill the gap who are prepared to take the job. Understand what is happening here, people. And then they have the audacity, the temerity, the gall, the effrontery, and the bold-facedness to come in our faces and talk about the present administration so soon. I said, whether it's so soon or whether it's later down the road, you have no moral, ethical, or any other pillar on which to stand in terms of your iniquities and your evil and your diabolical and your Luciferian conduct between the period 2015 and, of course, the 28th of April 2025. Let us not waste time with you. Get out of our faces. You are delusionary. And it's clear that all of you are in a state of what? Of cognitive, cerebral, and intellectual decline. Intellectual decline. Because you cannot tell me that you will watch Kamala Prasad Bisesa and that team of individuals less than a month, and then, of course, start to make statements as if they were there as long as Rowley and they. You have to be an asinine specimen of inhumanity. And your level, of course, of cognitive consciousness leaves much to be desired. Much to be desired. Hull all your tail. Hull all your tail. I'm trying to get, of course, my friend, I thought I would make a good case for you because it replicates in the society, you see, at the time. And, of course, your case is just as critical as so many other persons who lost their businesses. So I thought I should make that point tonight. Let's go to the line. Pastor, good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Hey, good night.
Yes, man, good night.
You hear me good?
Loud and clear, but it's 6 minutes past 10, eh?
Yeah, I know, I ain't get
All right.
Listen to you there, John. So, you know, on the news tonight, they're refusing to give Andana Mohit the information how many people apply for old age pension and National Insurance Board doing the same thing.
Yes.
They're refusing to do that. But she going there with Roger Alexander to charge them, you know.
Oh yes, I would think so because they believe there are laws unto themselves. They believe that the government money is theirs, and somehow they seem to be on steroids or some kind of what I consider to be chemical dependency, marijuana, cocaine, or something. So to watch poor people who come in for a pension, begging, literally. Right? Groveling, humiliating themselves, and you humiliate them more by telling them, come back, this ain't good, that ain't good, and of course because you're living in a big house, that of course you don't need it. So they don't understand and that they must respect the integrity of the people, one, and two, that if they have that, they are entitled, of course, to their pension because they reach the pensionable age. Full stop. Go ahead, my friend.
This is a pre-action protocol that you know. When they go there, Roger Alexander, they could charge them one time for withholding that information, you know.
That's all.
I hope they know that.
That's all. We have to find ways and means of making this system work in the interest of the people.
They the government that could do what they want.
Yeah, that's right.
They're afraid people are applied 4 years, 5 years, they can't get nothing.
Imagine that, and you had a minister, one name Cockburn, the next one name is the next one name is Donna Cox. I don't know what they're doing with cock name, but anyhow, I don't know what they like cock names. So one name Cockburn, one name Donna Cox. But the point is, they are in the glee once they take away 11,000 food cards and they clap themselves and pat themselves on the shoulder and everybody happy like papi. And next one, of course, a little amount. But she said, I talk about Donna Cox now, during the COVID, she said, well, listen, people who looking for hampers and things along the main road and the highways and the byways, looking for food, she said that they're greedy. She said that they're greedy, and you still in government.
But Lennox, people prejudice everybody.
Of course, they prejudice.
When you go watch human being like yourself, man catching their backside, I mean, you pension age and everything, and you refuse to give them the pension.
Yeah.
And yes, no, they asking.
Yeah, and hiding information because they are PNM oriented and minded.
Yeah, but there people will get it. There people get every blast sitting, you know.
But we will get it. We will get to the bottom of this. This cannot be. This cannot be. No, this cannot be. It cannot
when
be.
they go there,
Yeah.
they have to go and demand it.
Yes.
And they go get charged.
Well, I like what I'm hearing, so when I read it tomorrow, I'm certainly going to put pen to paper and make some kind of overture. Yes, I certainly will.
And you know what they was out all the whole thing, that COVID thing?
Yeah.
And they have people out in the rain as you see, and they want to go to the toilet and all this thing.
They're telling you it's a good Samaritan. Rowdy and them didn't see it fit to put a tent and give them some chairs. It's a good Samaritan seeing in one instance and decide, of course, to go and rent some chairs and a tent and to comfort these senior citizens. Yeah, and you have, as a result of that, mass spread taking place, and he just go on the TV and say that it's their fault that they didn't have the vaccines, and therefore they tell people to come out without, of course, realizing that that would cause more people to die suddenly, and in fact that happened, and it even offer to bury the loved ones. The loved ones.
You want to charge them and they make you move the chairs and things, right?
Showing you that, boy.
And look at your own
and you have people defending that. No.
And you know, in your own hometown down in Digodi,
Yeah.
there are thousands of them lined up, old people all kind
Yeah,
of
I
thing.
know, all over the country. Rowley come and apologize. And don't go, look, I will play tomorrow.
And then come
Just
out
to make
and
sure.
say the-
Because I don't want nobody to say that I say things not just out of turn, but the veracity of it cannot be proven. I'm going to show you that tomorrow night.
And after the people wait for what they come out and tell them they are no vaccine.
Yeah, and afterwards they say they have no vaccine. Yeah. And the people don't contract the disease, and then a few weeks afterwards they died. The families plunge into, of course, an expense that they don't have, as unscrupulous, of course, funeral agents and so on skyrocket their prices for burying, and is that kind of matrix you had in that period?
But this latest one when they come in, is the worst.
Yeah, definitely.
You don't want to supply the information, you got the news.
Yeah, but we'll deal with that. All right. Well, I have to go. It's 12 minutes past 10.
I know you're hungry.
I'm hungry and I'm tired.
Well,
Yeah, it's whole day writing. Whole day.
tomorrow when you talk with them 42 banks in Ghana,
Yeah, all right, brothers. Later.
I go call you and when we start to talk.
Give me a movie to watch.
We could go and watch some boy.
Well, who knows? I might find the extra stamina.
Go and watch Jewel at Silver Creek.
What's that?
Jewel, G-U-E-L.
Yeah, Joel. Yeah,
Yeah, at Silver Creek.
at Silver Creek. All right, now Western.
Yes, boy.
All right. I hope, because last time you make me watch a black and white, you know. So I hope it's not black and white, yeah?
No, no black and white.
Yeah, and my son say My son
I
say,
know, I remember that.
yeah. When my son see it in black and white, so he say, listen, like somebody pirate that. He don't know it had black and white film before. He got a pirate film. All right, later. Thanks very much. Yes, man. Okay. All right. Yes, indeed. Of course, I wasn't able, of course, to find the document that would have been a bulletin from the Ministry of Social Development from the caller that sent me that information. So my apology, but I'm certainly going to look at it tonight, and tomorrow night, of course, I will read from it. In fact, I will read from it on the ground report in the morning. So I want to tell you in that vein, of course, a pleasant good night. Good night, pleasant rest of the night to all of you. And of course, don't forget tomorrow morning, the ground report, Andy, Mike, and myself, as we, of course, deal with these and other issues. But there was something that we played this morning that I want to play for you now before we end. Remember, of course, there was this saying, as I say, suddenly the PNM gets self-righteous indignation. No? Is that what I said? I can't remember the damn word I make up, but that's all right. Self-righteous indignation, meaning that suddenly they get pious and they get, of course, moralistic and want to do the right thing. Yes, self-righteous indignation, it is called. But let me tell you this. They are saying that Sturge, the Minister of Defense, when Sturge, he said that he didn't want any post, and then making heavy weather about that. Well, all right. Since he said that, let me hear what Rowley did say.
I'm here in this PNM crowd, and I think I better confess something to you. Those who know me very well will know what I'm saying to you now. I didn't really want this job. I didn't want this job.
I want to tell you something. I'm from Mismanagement in Tobago. Mismanagement very close to Liquor 2. The last time I was put out of anywhere for anything, the person who put me out regretted it.
Yeah, he didn't want the job to be prime minister, but suddenly he went to Likoto to get the job by of course putting a curse on his boss, the man who was there before him, Manning. The man got stroke not once, but he didn't want the job. And those PNM sycophants, those PNM nincompoops, those PNM who do not do any research, who want to come, of course, and they try to insult the intelligence of persons who would have done their homework and who would, of course, have been able to go to school, one, and to achieve. And then they come, of course, with their ad hominem nonsensicalities and believe that they could fool somebody with it because suddenly they have become morally righteous. Self-righteous indignation. Well, haul all your tails. Hear it again. Hear it again for good measure. Since all you're stupid, all you want to dare where angels fear, listen to this.
I'm here in this PNM crowd, and I think I better confess something to you. Those who know me very well will know what I'm saying to you now. I didn't really want this job. I didn't want this job.
I want to tell you something. I'm from Mismanagement in Tobago. Mismanagement very close to Liquor 2. The last time I was put out of anywhere for anything, the person who put me out regretted it.
I don't talk, I make my case. That is what all I have to take. Don't come wrong. Don't come wrong, intelligent people. Do not interfere with God's people. Evil cannot prevail over good. And good prevailed on April 28, 2025. Understand that. and you will always be beaten, not only into last place, I ain't even saying second, last place, but we will ensure that since you continue to demonstrate the propensity and the proclivity to be evil, that we will ensure that you are relegated to the dustbin of political history in this country. In other words, the PNM must become extinct, no longer existing. It will be annihilated because you have the ground report to deal with. You have this program, the corridor transformation, to deal with. You have the observer to deal with, and many others who are prepared to protect Trinidad and Tobago, our children and our children's children, from this group of vipers, opportunistic political parasites, who have, of course, done us harm and provided ache, pain, and agony, and distress through nepotism, cronyism, and, of course, the undermining of our democratic principles, and, of course, betraying the rule of law, and, of course, not observing the observation of democracy, which is what? Government by the people, of the people, and for the people. And therefore, the undermining thereof, including our electoral process, because we will not forget that we only tried to did in fact thief the elections in 2015, and again, of course, in 2020. We will not forget. And don't tell me to prove it, you know, before I keep the program a little longer, you know. Don't tell me to prove it, you know. Understand that. A pleasant good night once again, of course. Don't forget, of course, tomorrow morning, people, the ground report, Andy, Mike, and myself, and of course, don't forget, we will be on tomorrow night as well. Yeah, tomorrow night is not Friday night. It's a good thing. I wanted to come, but I'm glad that it's not Friday night, because Friday, of course, I'll take my Sabbath. But before we go, of course, let me hear my good friend, of course, giving his closing remarks, and then, of course, we'll make our exit.
Yeah, what I had to say. God say, my Creator say, well, listen to me carefully, anytime you hurt He children in any way, put shackles around your neck and dive in the deepest sea. Anytime you hurt, it's written, His children, put shackles on your neck and dive in the deepest sea. So, all people out there who hear this program tonight, I want you to realize the things we be doing to our young ones. We have to come to look after this country after we leave. So Manning and Rowley and his crew, all they know what all they do we. And I know the couple, the handcuff is coming to all they know, but here what happen? All they better put shackles around all their neck and dive in the deepest sea, where nobody can find all but God.
Yes, indeed, of course. Once again, of course, have a wonderful rest of the night.
I want to tell you something. I'm from Mismanagement in Tobago. Mismanagement very close to liquor too. The last time I was put out of anywhere for anything, the person who put me out regretted it.
Those who
I want to tell you something. I'm from Miss Roll in Tobago. Miss Roll very close to liquor too. The last time I was put out of anywhere for anything, the person who put me out regretted it.
I'm here in this PLM crowd, and I think I better confess something to you. Those who know me very well will know that I'm saying to you now. I didn't really want this job. I didn't want this job.
I want to tell you something. I'm from Miss Roll in Tobago. Miss Roll very close to liquor too. The last time I was put out of anywhere for anything, the person who put me out regretted it.
I'm here in this PLM crowd, and I think I better confess something to you. Those who know me very well will know what I'm saying to you now. I didn't really want this job. I didn't want this job.
I want to tell you something. I'm from Miss Roll in Tobago. Miss Roll very close to liquor too. The last time I was put out of anywhere for anything, the person who put me out regretted it.
I'm here in this PLM crowd, and I think I better confess something to you. Those who know me very well.
Looking for work, you might bounce up a fellow who might be looking quite handsome and macho. You tell yourself you want to work with him, so you decide to try a ratchet free. But when you're done, it's then you get to know he wife leave he and gone long time ago. With all the cash he have, he is a failure. The man is nothing but a blinking suya. They want to feel up your navel and your breast. They want to see if you are loader on your chest. The things they want to do you with their hand, like if they're searching to find the promised land. I am a woman who don't make any skylark. Before I slap them and they die of heart attack. Tell them they could keep their money, I go keep my honey and die with my dignity. It have a lot of women just like me who might be not too well off financially. You need a job and you really need it bad. A man decide to help you must feel glad. But if you value yourself as a woman, you will demand respect from the vagabonds. Stand up to them and let them know the truth. It's what you want, you will no blinking prostitute. You have a moon on your back, they want to see. They want to see if you are marks on your belly. They want to know how much man you had before, and if you're strong enough to take any more. I have my pride and I have my ambition. I want to hold my head up high as a woman. So brother, they go keep their money, I go keep my honey and die with my dignity.
I think I better confess something to you. Those who know me very well will know what I'm saying to you now. I didn't really want this job. I didn't want this job.
I want to tell you something. I'm from Miss Roll in Tobago. Miss Roll very close to liquor too. The last time I was put out of anywhere for anything,